For the second time today, I race to the garage and hop on my bike. Then I drive to Ace. The campus feels even more empty than usual. Even though it's after hours, I have no trouble swiping into the hangar. All is quiet except for the sound of my footsteps. I cannot get to Eagle fast enough. As soon as I do, I plop down at the terminal and boot up the computer. I follow the instructions Valerie left for me and am greeted by the password prompting screen she showed me earlier. She said there was a hint here. Let's see what it says. The screen is a scrambled mess of words with no rhyme or reason to them. I read through a couple of times, making sure my eyes don't skip any words. Most of these words mean nothing to me, but a select few stand out. Cricket, moo, terhopsalot. Those were childhood nicknames they gave me. Each one of them has a story, but none of them very long-lived. The ultimate nickname that stuck with me for an embarrassingly long time was Meatball, because when I was born my cheeks were big and round like meatballs. Dad's favorite story to tell was the time I started school. The teacher called Kite Cat for roll call, and I stayed silent, so she marked me absent. After she'd gone through the list of names, I said she didn't call mine. She asked if my name was Kite Cat and I responded with, "No, my name is Meatball." I had been called Meatball at home for so long that I didn't even know my real name. That must be the answer. I apprehensively type in Meatball into the password prompt. My finger hovers over the enter key before pressing it. The prompt disappears, and a video pops up on the screen. My breath catches in my throat as Dad looks straight into the camera. There are dark circles under his eyes and worry lines around his mouth. His hair sticks up at odd angles and his clothes are smudged with dirt and oil. He notices the recording light is on and tries to fix himself up a bit before giving me a weak smile.
The fact that you are watching this now means something must have gone wrong.
He sighs and his voice grows thick.
I'm sorry.
I try to swallow the lump in my throat and ignore the sting of tears in my eyes. This isn't the Dad I remember. The Dad I remember had a booming laugh which took up the room. He was sure of himself and never had regrets.
By putting this technology in Eagle, I have potentially endangered you. But I don't know where else I can keep it safe. Midori Energy doesn't fully understand the scope of this research. They're willing to sell it to anyone without considering the consequences. Companies which would weaponize this technology will cause irreparable damage. They could create energy explosions 13 times the force of a nuclear bomb.
He sets his jaw and lifts his gaze back towards the camera. His eyes are unusually steely and cold.
That's why I caused the fire. I burned all copies of my research to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands.
Dad runs his hand through his hair, a gesture he would do whenever he was stressed or worried.
It's hard to completely destroy 20 years of research. Especially when this technology could bring so much good. The possibilities would have been endless. This new format of energy may function similarly to existing methods, but the fundamental principles are vastly different and have far wider scalability implications.
A shadow of his old self returns while he talks, and I catch a glimpse of a genuine smile. Dad was always a bit of a dreamer. Then his face becomes grim.
And that is why this core is sitting in Eagle now.
His piercing gaze stares straight into my soul.
I'm sorry for getting you involved. I'm sorry I couldn't follow through with what I started. But most of all, I'm sorry I wasn't able to tell you this in person.
His eye looked glassy and glittered too much beneath the light.
I probably don't say this enough, but I'm so proud of who you've grown up to be. I know, if you're watching this, that I've put a heavy burden on your shoulders. But I trust you will make the right decision. My only hope is that you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
Dad glances behind him. Something must have spooked him because when he faces the camera again, he smiles feebly and his voice is quiet.
Take care of your sister. Goodbye, son.
The video cuts off abruptly. First, I'm too stunned to move. The image of Dad is seared into my eyes. He was the same, yet so unfamiliar. And his face slowly fades away. I'm surprised to feel wetness on my cheeks. He knew. He knew exactly what he was doing when he hid this technology inside of Ego. And now I understand why I wasn't allowed to help program the core. I understand why Dad seemed almost obsessive about completing Eagle. It also makes sense why I never noticed the difference between this core and any other core. Dad never matured the technology. But he must have set up the overdrive configuration probably not long before he set the overdrive to only happen once, so I'd begin to search for answers. His last words ring in my mind. Goodbye, son. He knew the implications of his research and entrusted it all to me through the gear we built together. I glance over at Eagle, partially obscured by the shadows. The darkened blue no longer seems warm and inviting like the salty spray of the ocean. It feels dangerous and cold like a winter sky. I try to bring up the video once more, so I can hear his voice one more time. See his face, even though it's not the one I want to remember. But I can't. It was a one-time initiation. As I try to process the situation, I don't know what to feel. I recall Dad's hollow cheeks and the shadow of pain in his eyes. Of one thing I am certain. I cannot keep using the core knowing all this. But what will I do about the research? Sometimes Dad thought too much about the big picture and forgot about the details. He wanted to create a better future for us, and was willing to die to make his dreams a reality. If only he could have seen that the future we wanted was one with him in it. I don't want Dad's sacrifice to be in vain. I want him to achieve his dreams. I climb up the ladder beside Eagle and open the cockpit. Then I key in the sequence which unlocks the panel, protecting my core. Like a beating heart, it gives off a faint pulse of energy. I open the terminal screen in my cockpit and find the source information for my core. After collecting all the schematics and data into a drive, I set an impossible run instance. The low glow continues to brighten more and more. After a zapping noise, it becomes an opaque object. As far as anyone would know, the core should circuit it. This technology belongs with a company who will utilize it properly. Until I know who that is, I'll keep it safe with me and not bring any more attention to it. After learning all that I have, I can't keep using it as a leg up against the competition. Eagle will use a regular core from now on. As I stand there, I suddenly feel so tired and so lost. Without thinking, I pull out my phone and dial the first number that comes to mind.
Oh, hi! Sorry it took me so long to answer. I was a little surprised you called.
Sorry to bother you, Mayu. But do you think we could meet?
Is everything okay?
I must sound weird because the worry immediately creeps into her voice. Honestly, I don't know. I just found something huge about my parents and my core.
Okay. Where would you like to meet?
I can come to you. She pauses. Mayu?
I'm in my room.
Oh. I'm not sure how to ask if I can go there without sounding like I have ulterior motives. Luckily, I don't have to.
If you want to come here, that would be okay.
Are you sure?
Yes.
She doesn't even hesitate.
I mean, yes.
Thanks, Mayu. I'll be there soon. We hang up the phone. As if in the days, I make my way towards her dorm. Mayu greets me at her building entrance. Her smile falters when she sees me and she furrows her brows. We don't speak as she leads me to her room. I sit on the couch and look around the room as Mayu joins me. The dorm definitely isn't like any others. Not only is this couch plush and comfortable, she also has a fireplace and a kitchenette. Feels more like a studio than a dorm room. Mayu blushes.
Sorry for the mess.
Everything is neatly arranged and all surfaces and her floors are spotless. You have a really nice room.
Thanks. It's smaller than my room back home, but I still prefer this one. I like how cozy it is. Even though the dorm belongs to Ace, this room somehow still feels more like mine than my room at home ever did.
I spot the manga novels lining her shelves, and little fantasy figurines she must have painted. I'm sure her father would not have allowed that in her room back home. I'm glad she's found a place where she can express herself. She glances curiously at my hand.
What are you holding?
I look down and barely register my clenched hand. That's right. Opening my hands, I show her the drive. She cocks her head to the side. It's the data to my core.
What are you doing with it?
I'm just storing it for now. She pauses.
Okay, but what about when you're done storing it?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. She fixes her big, blue eyes on me. I recount everything I've learned so far. Mayu lets me talk and my story comes out in a non-chronically mess. Every so often she would nod to let me know she was still listening, but otherwise she did not interrupt. Once I'm done, she looks down.
That's awful. I don't know what I would have done if I were you.
Maybe I acted too quickly. She looks up again.
No!
I blink at her outburst.
You did what was right, which was really brave of you.
Then how come it still feels like I was wrong? She places a sympathetic hand on my arm.
Because that decision is a hard burden to bear. And I'm sorry you had to be the one to make it.
Somehow her words make me feel a little bit lighter. I hadn't realized how anxious I was about what I've done until someone validated my decision. I look away. I'm sorry. I guess I'm not that fun to be around right now. She shakes her head.
It's okay. You're going through a lot. I can't imagine what I'd do if I were in your shoes. I know it's hard to have one image of your father, and suddenly that image is cracked to reveal a new person underneath.
I just keep wondering, what if he told me? Maybe he'd still be alive.
You mustn't think like that. I know I'm probably the last person to tell you that, because I'm always thinking about all the ways my life could have turned out differently. Focusing on your father's death and wondering if he'd be alive is dangerous. If you aren't careful, you'll be stuck in the same moment forever, and it'll consume you until you forget about your own life.
He looks at her feet.
It must be hard to have your dad taken away from you so suddenly, but that's a fact that can never be changed.
I know. But still. My voice trails off. What am I even trying to say? Mayu smiles gently and leans close to me.
He loved you very much.
How can you be so sure?
That video he left you, he knew you would find it.
She seems so sure of her answer. Her soft smile warms me from the inside and soothes my aching heart. Her quiet gentleness is a strength in itself, and with her support, I can feel the pain and fear ease. She's right. I know Dad loved me and Nikki, and this event shouldn't change my mind about that. He was only doing what he thought was best to protect me, and no matter how much I wish he would, he can never come back. I pull Mayu into a hug. Thank you. I don't know what I would do without you. She blushes deeply and looks up to me. As if drawn to her, I lean in and let my lips gently brush against hers. He blinks in surprise, then quickly melts into the kiss. As we pull away, I gaze deeply into her eyes. In this moment, I have clarity. It twinses away all my stress and fears. It's okay that I don't have all the answers now, because I'm looking at my future, and it's beautiful.